Hi everyone, we're going to look back over our history at Wildlife Aid. Over the years we've done literally thousands of rescues and we've picked out our 5 most memorable rescues. So starting at number 5, we've got a fox which got its head stuck in a wheel. All rescues we ever undertake here are very different. We never know how we're going to approach it, and this one was a first for us. We've got deer out of fences and all sorts of things, but never a fox came out of a wheel.
It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. You can't believe that it's even put its head through the hole, let alone, I've just never seen anything like it.
So it was having to think outside the box. Obviously, if they'd gone to the fire brigade or something like this, they would have hacked away with cutters and all sorts of things, but there are easier ways. And the easier way on this one was to fold up a piece of plastic, put the cub's head in the plastic, and then with the cub unconscious, so it didn't know what was going on, we could just feed the whole thing back through the wheel, because that way you're spreading the point of load. Instead of one particular point where the animal's pressing against a thin strip of metal, you're spreading the load, and that makes it far easier to extract it. It was a very tight fit. The fox cub's cheeks were so swollen.
You can see now all of the swelling around the side of the space and about beneath his eyes. It's very, very puffy.
But because it was unconscious, we could just feed it back very, very carefully. And he was absolutely fine shortly afterwards. In at number 4 was a badger that we were alerted to that had been hit on the road and had gone into undergrowth. It was very late at night, it wasn't a particularly nice night, so we went out obviously straight away, but no sign of the badger anywhere. It's just a matter of looking. We've got thermal cameras, we've got all sorts of methods of trying to get to the animal, but there was no sign of it. We spent ages and ages looking, and to give Lawrie his credit, I was actually literally going to give up and come back the next morning. Lawrie eventually found it, right deep in the undergrowth. It had gone through and lodged itself under the bottom of the tree, right under the tree roots, which made it virtually impossible to get hold of. Obviously you can't scruff a badger, it would have been too dangerous, so we had to again think outside the box. There's no set way of any of these rescues, we just had to think of that instance and how we're going to get it. So it was a matter of just very gently moving his head with the swan hook, getting it in the right angle where we could get a grasp around it, and even then it was incredibly hard to extract him because he had roots either side of him. So a really difficult rescue, made a little bit more interesting by the fact we were halfway through the rescue and we got people yelling at us from the roadside.
Yeah? Oh, hi, are you the police? We've got an injured badger. We're from Wildlife Aid, the wildlife rescue charity.
Now I think they were there because we were actually on the side of a very, very expensive housing estate where sort of a lot of millionaires live. And I think they probably thought we'd parked our car, legged it across a field to burgle some houses. The policemen stayed on the side of the road and were happy to see a successful outcome.
Yeah, we got ourselves a badger.
All these rescues are very difficult, and obviously this badger was in a pretty bad state. He'd been hit quite hard by the car, there was blood in his mouth, he was in a really hard state. When we got him back, which was only about 10 minutes away from the centre, we got him back, he just went very quickly downhill. It's so sad after all that effort from us, which is what we do, but for the badger sadly not to make it was quite devastating. I get quite emotional at these things because we work very hard, we want the best for the badger, and despite his best efforts, it had obviously just been too much to him.
Badger wedge. Badger wedge. Hey bad, are you still with us?
We don't know what sort of internal injuries he had at that stage. We hadn't had time to do a full vet assess, but he didn't make it. So we try every time. If we can give them a second chance, that's great, but all we can do is our best. So we were called out to a local racecourse, funnily enough. The groundsman had seen some baby Egyptian goslings. They were sort of spreading around and walking all over the place, but very close to a main road. So our big concern was, because they had scattered and they were with mum and they didn't know where to go, that they just go across on the main road and all get splatted. We didn't want to freak them out, we didn't want them to go under the fence, which sadly is what happened at one point. And I just said to Lawrie glibly, just jump over that fence. Well, this fence was over 7 foot high.
Lawrie, go over.
And he had to get over there in milliseconds. So Laurie's nice, young, fit and agile. I just waited my side of the fence for him to drive them back in. So all these rescues are a team effort. You know, one of us will catch it, one of us won't, but it's a team effort that makes that catch possible. The memorable bit for me was the fact that Mum flew off quite early on in the rescue, and we were just hoping she'd come back. But not only did she come back, she came back with presumably the father as well. So they both flew back in, but they would not go into a net. We couldn't entice them going into a net to get the babies.
They're so close to the entrance to the keep net now, they just need to take that leap of faith, but it's going to be so lucky they do it. They're going all the way around. And the other choice, Lawrie, is not the best choice, is just let the babies go again.
We had to take a tremendous risk, and it was a massive risk, to be honest. We let the babies go again, hoping that they'd all hold together, which they did. So sometimes a lot of our work is just guesswork. We try to work out what is likely to happen if we do a certain action. So in releasing the babies, the parents herded them together, and it was a long time. I think we were staying there for over an hour. Some of my moves on that rescue to get them in the net were literally I was moving 3 inches forward, they got stressed, I moved 3 inches back.
Probably the dad's in the way. Go on, Mum, take them in the net. Go on, Mum. Go on, Mum.
And it's really terribly, terribly slow and gentle. You don't want to panic them. You want them to go at their own speed, which they did in the end, and they went in the keep net, which was a bit of a miracle. So we were called out to Cygnet, which had tried to get through a chain link fence. His head had gone through, no problem. The body didn't fit.
You've got to go back the way you came or you're going to get well stuck, aren't you? All right, fella. All right. Don't do that. Don't be silly. Stop it.
The parents were very agitated, and we go out to many of these type of events. And swans, I always call them big pussycats. Everybody's terrified of swans. They're actually very protective. They're young and they don't do that much damage. But I think the thing that got me with this rescue is it got so much attention because I was whacked round the back by the cob several times, I think, in memory.
You got... All right, come on, back down. It's all right, that's fine. We're good. All right, baby.
It doesn't hurt, honestly. You get a bit bruised and beaten, but it's not the end of the world. And to get this Cygnet back and get it in the water and go off with the parents is always a great ending.
Oh, there's a good boy. There's a good boy. Come on. Come on. There he is, look. Go on. Go on. There's a good boy. Go and protect your baby. Don't get a go at me. I've just let him out. Go on, are you better now? You feeling a bit calmer? Good.
I was just amazed how many people found it fascinating. This swan was whacking me round the back with his wing. Little did he know I was trying to do him a favour. In at number 1 on the memorable rescues was a young deer that had got stuck in a gate. Oh. Again, we go out to lots and lots of these, but they can't get back. What happens with the deer, it'll go through a gate, its neck and its shoulders can go through, but its hips are the widest part of its body, so it can't get the hips through. And there's no way of trying to push it onwards, you've got to bring it back out. So it's a matter of just easing it out very carefully without it kicking you.
There we are. Come on. Come on. Back over. Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. All right. Come on.
And this rescue actually only took us about 10 seconds, so it was pretty quick and we could let it go straight away because there was no injuries to it at all. The most memorable bit for me was that the cameraman missed the reuniting of the baby and the mother. They actually, when I was watching it, it jumped over the fence, Mum came running up to it, they went together and then ran off together. The cameraman missed it. Luckily, the cameraman did catch them running off together, and to see the mum bounding through the long grass and the young fawn following it was just spectacular. And then the horses came in to see what was going on. It's just a great end. I mean, rescue releases are always what I think the best bit of our work, and that was a pretty spectacular one.
If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel by pressing the red button. And make sure you hit the bell to get notifications of our latest content. If you want to help us save wildlife, please donate. Every £1 you give will help us to save more wildlife.